Two men watch bad movies for fun. They record their thoughts and discussions. Sometimes they have to drink to forget the awful movies they've watched. The following is based on a true story. Welcome to They Mostly Pot Out at Night. Mostly, I am Salem, joined by my co-host, Graveyard.
Hello.
This is episode 57 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. Join us as we conjure another drink as we prepare for The Nun 2 by watching the Conjuring universe movies. This week we are doing the three, mainline Conjuring movies: The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2, and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Yes. Obviously something different for intro, but yeah, because they all start with based on a true story.
Yeah, that's a stretch. I'm trying to try to hold back until our ending here, because otherwise I'm just going to be me ranting the entire time. So, I'll just try to get through the recap of the movie with as little venom as I can, and then we'll tear it apart afterwards.
Oh yes.
All right. So we will start with the first movie is just The Conjuring. What year did this come out? Do you know?
2013.
2013.
Yep.
This was for sure during the blackout period where I was not watching horror movies, and I heard about these movies, and this is probably the movie that was at the bottom of my list that never ever wanted to watch ever. And that's just because of the subject matter. But again, I'm going to hold the venom for later. I'm just going to roll into what it's about. Okay. I'll try to keep it short.
Yes.
So essentially, we have a family, which is Rod Livingston is the dad.
Yep.
Lily Taylor is the mom. There's 5 children?
$5, yeah.
5 daughters, and they decide to move sight unseen into a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere.
Let me just say, I'd love that farmhouse.
Well, yeah, we all would love that farmhouse. It's in the middle of nowhere, but again, it looks like it's kind of sort of falling apart, but hey, it's fixer up or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, apparently they had never seen it before they moved in because they were surprised by what it looks like, the furniture that was in there and all that. I don't know how you do that, but I mean. This was 1971? So
1971, yeah.
Maybe they did it differently back then. But yeah, this is, we should specify it occurs in 1971. So they move in, little kind of, minor freaky stuff happens, but nothing major. But Rod Livingston, the dad, ends up finding a hidden cellar, which was boarded up in the closet for some reason. And they go down there, the lights don't work, of course. And there's a whole bunch of old furniture and stuff down there. And he's like, oh yeah, whatever, it's dark. We'll go look at it in the morning. I'm just kind of speed run some of this here. Basically they start seeing ghostly stuff, right? So there's knocking that happens on the doors, the girls, something's pulling on their leg in the middle of the night to wake them up. They think it's their sisters, but it's not. There's people some kind of sneaking around the house. Some of the kids can see them. Some of the kids can't see them.
And they blame all the foul smells on farts,
right.
Death farts. Every fart is a death fart in this movie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So there's the weird smells, weird noises. They're seeing people. The one girl is sleepwalking and trying to go into this one cabinet thing. The littlest girl is has a new ghost best friend that she can only see in a mirror. Rory, right?
Yeah,
something like that. Anyway, a bunch of stuff happens, and it starts escalating to the point to where they're scared for their lives. So they basically get to the point where they're all huddled up and sleeping together in the living room. And they won't even go in their bedrooms because they're so scared of what's going on.
Yes.
So they go looking for help, and then we enter Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are based on real people.
They did exist.
There is a couple that was named Ed and Lorraine Warren. And they did lecture about ghosts and demonic presences and stuff like that. So anyway, so the mom goes to one of their like lectures and then begs them to come to this house. And they're like, well, I'm sure there's a rational explanation. So they always say that in the beginning, there's a rational explanation. We'll come out there. We'll help you figure out what this rational explanation is. So they show this other house that they thought was haunted. And then, no, of course, it was like some creaky pipes or something. It wasn't
right.
a haunting. So anyway, so they go to this house, and Ed and Lorraine decide that, we're going to spend the night in the house. And of course, all the ghosts are real.
Yes.
So, they're like banging and, furniture is moving around and like, oh my God, this is totally real. So they call like all their people in. And which is like one guy who I guess is like a tech guy in 1971 who sets up like a bunch of like.
He's in all of them too, which is, I forgot. Because these are so far apart in real time, I forgot it's the same guy until I watched all of these back to back.
It is the same guy. Drew is his name, I think.
Let's call him knockoff Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, whatever. He they set up all these like cameras that are supposedly like motion and heat sensitive, which is like, I don't know if they had that technology in 1971, but whatever. We'll go with it. So they got like video camera, which 1971 was like what, like an 8mm camera. So I don't know.
Camera.
Whatever they have. And so they got like all these microphones. They set up all these microphones in all these different rooms. They have like this little like control center thing. So they're kind of documenting stuff that's going on. Of course, we get like the one skeptic cop guy who's like, I don't believe in any of this. And then of course he sees like some ghost maid. And then now he's like, he instantly believes.
Well, at first he's like, my mustache don't believe you.
Yeah, right. And then, then he sees some like ghost maid and he's like, I'm all on board now.
Yep.
Choo choo with the possession train. They're basically like, what's going on? So they find like the girl like disappears when she's like sleepwalking and they can't find her. And they end up finding like this hidden room behind the big wardrobe that she was always trying to get into when she was sleepwalking.
Yeah.
And then when they go behind there, they find like there's this little area where like there's a bunch of like kids' toys. So it looks like this is where like the kid, the Rory that was the best friend's little girl. This is where like that kid kind of hid,
from an abusive mother.
Right. Yeah. And there was a spot in there that was very clearly from the music box that had the mirror that she could see Rory in.
Right.
It very clearly looked like it came from it. There's a little like spot in the dust that was the same octagon shape of the music box. Anyway, so Lorraine is in there, of course, using her psychic powers to, touch things and see whatever the future, the past, whatever it is. And then she somehow like falls through the floor and goes all the way down into another hidden basement that's underneath the already hidden basement.
Yeah.
And it's like super short, you can only crawl around in there. But anyway, so she ends up like seeing ghosts down there, and it's the ghost of that little boy. And then like his mom is like stabbing the boy to death, saying like, she made me do it.
Yes.
And then she like freaks out and she like runs outside, and then she like tries to get some air, and then Ed comes out like, are you okay? And then she looks behind her, and then like she sees this lady like hanging from a tree behind her.
We'll call it the conjuring tree because it's the prominent artwork of the posters, that curved tree. Right.
Yeah, the tree, and then there's a lady like hanging from it. Of course, she's the only one that can see this, but so they decide to look backwards to see what happened. They find out that like this whole like town area was once one big huge farm, like a 200-acre farm, and over time it had gotten broken up. But this is like still where the main house of the whole property was.
Right.
So apparently, something happened to where this lady got kicked off. Oh no, that's right. She was
a witch.
Yeah, she was a witch that tried to like they casually threw this in there. I thought it was funny, but she said that somebody caught her trying to sacrifice her baby in a satanic ritual in the fireplace.
Yes.
And then she got caught and she ran outside, and like the whole town caught her and then like lynched her and hung her in a tree.
And her dying breath is, whoever takes my land will, rue the day, essentially.
What? Yeah, will be cursed, right? So,
right.
Okay, now we know what, is causing this curse. And then they go back to that, or no, they were gone at some point. Where did they go? Oh, they went to go get the church involved.
Right, because they needed to perform an exorcism.
Right.
In order for the Catholic Church to perform exorcism, you have to bring in proof before before the Vatican can okay an exorcism.
Right. Yeah. So they have their ironclad proof, and they show the priest, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, this is pretty good proof. I'll bring it up to them. I'll do it myself. We'll
wait. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have the answer in a couple of days." So then, of course, the family was not living in the house at this time. They were too scared to do that. They were living in
they went to a motel, yeah.
Like a motel or whatever, yeah. So I don't know where the dad was, but the dad came back from shopping or something. I think he was grocery shopping. And he came back, and the mom had taken the two youngest girls and left. And
because
she was going back to
she got vomited in the mouth by a ghost.
Right.
Earlier, yeah.
So she's essentially possessed now.
Yeah.
So she is possessed by the lady that wants to kill the baby because that's what she did.
Yep.
In the past. So she goes back to the house, and then Ed and Lorraine are like, "Oh no, we got to go to the house to save him." So they get there, and the mom was trying to hurt the one girl, and they stopped her. And then it's we can't wait for the priest. The exorcism has to happen now. Ed, you're not actually a priest, but you need to do the exorcism. And so he goes, "Okay, I will."
Yep.
And he does. And meanwhile, Drew finds the other little girl underneath the floor.
Yeah.
Somehow it's another hidden area. There's a lot of hidden underfloor areas in this house, but yes, he somehow kind of finds her. So the one girl was out of the house. And so now after the whole exorcism thing, there's there's a towel or a sheet that goes over her head, and then we can only peek through the sheet, and we see it's a monster face under there. And she breaks through the ropes and the chair that they had her tied down in. And she gets away, and she goes after the little girl, and they Lorraine, because she saw her memories earlier of a happy day at the beach, she gives her back her happy day at the beach, and then that somehow scares out the demon. And then they're okay.
Yep.
And then they just leave, but Ed and Lorraine are heroes.
Yes, and they put the music box into their room of terror, essentially their room of haunted possession artifacts.
Right. It's what was that, Friday the 13th, the series that had all the haunted artifacts in the vault? Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that.
Yeah, I mean, you can also call it the store from Needful Things.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, end of movie. Yeah, right.
Yes, yeah, I did that one quick, right?
Yep, yes, because we're doing these one short because we have a lot of problems with these movies.
Well, again, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of things. Literally, it's they all three of these movies follow the same premise. Okay. Whenever there's some kind of ghostly event, there's some kind of knock, right?
Yep.
So you go in the room. Oh, the knock's coming from over here. You go over there and listen for the knock. The knock's not there anymore. Oh, now the knock. Oh, now the knock's behind me. Then they turn around and they go to the other knock. Oh, it's not knocking there anymore. What's going on? Turn around. Some form of ghost, monster, whatever it is. It follows the same pattern every single time with every single person. They just do it over and over and over again.
Yes, usually the ghosts are blurry in the background.
Of course, yeah. It's usually just a quick jump scare thing. In the later movies, they do actually get involved.
Yeah,
I think in this movie they only really show a monster thing attacking a kid one time.
Yes,
and it was just disappeared immediately. I don't know, but this one they didn't really do that a whole lot with. The later ones they did.
Yep. So you hadn't seen these, so these are first thoughts for you. These are rewatches for me. So what was your first thought on this Conjuring movie?
Okay, now, like I said earlier, this is my blackout period of I was so tired of horror movies I didn't want to watch anymore during this time. Now, I had heard of The Conjuring at this time, and I did not watching and put it all the way at the bottom of my list because I hate Ed and Lorraine Warren. I hate them. I don't know if I can stress that. I really hate them as just all around.
Yes.
I know of them. I knew of their past. I knew what they did. I did not want to see a movie that glorified them in any way whatsoever. And that is exactly what this movie is. It is exactly what I thought it was going to be. It is like them being like the goofy fictionalized versions of themselves that they try to sell to everybody.
Yep.
It's like take that and then make a Hollywood version of that. Yes. So it's not even a Hollywood version of them. It's a Hollywood version of what they sell to people to pretend that they are, and then a Hollywood version of that.
Right. And I think a lot of it is because they wrote books about all these hauntings. And, the book was the fictionalized, stylized versions of what they wanted to be. And then Hollywood took that book and then made it worse.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, they were very, very much involved in selling these things, the story to the media. Almost immediately, they were all about, generating buzz about these kind of things, getting everybody involved, cameras, stories, movie rights, book rights. They were all about that stuff.
Yep.
And they very even clearly in this movie, again, you can tell it's a fictionalized version of them because she says like, the guy's like, oh, what, we find like proof. Oh no, that's actually the second movie. But anyway, I'm going to say it now anyway.
Yes.
He says like, oh, if we figured this out, I guess this would, prove that there's life beyond death and we'd be kind of famous. And Lorraine goes, oh, that's not why we're doing this. We're not doing this to be famous. We're just here to help this family because they need help, which again is complete bullshit. If you know anything about Ed and Lorraine Warren, that is the fictionalized bullshit that they tried to sell to everybody else. We're just here to help. We're not trying to be famous. We're just here to help these people that clearly need help. And then this is their fictionalized bullshit of like,
well, because they have no jobs.
That's exactly what they're doing.
They have no jobs. How else are they getting money other than doing this and selling it?
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. All this kind of stuff like, oh, Ed Warren is the only demonologist that's not a priest that's, licensed by the Catholic Church. Like, demonologist is not something that the Catholic Church can license you for.
No.
All of this stuff is bullshit. All this stuff is fake. It just really pisses me off that these people get to be glorified in this way because they are hucksters and I hate it.
Yes, they are, as we discussed before the stream, I'll say it again, they are the type of people, the mediums, the charlatans that Harry Houdini tried to go around and debunk. He would go do these seances and go, no, bullshit.
And again, I would go, they're one step worse in my mind because Lorraine Warren has all these powers that she is, sometimes accusing people of being witches and satanic people because they have powers or claim to have these powers and they're all satanic. And she does the same thing.
Yeah.
She can see the past by touching things. She can have flashes of the future. All of these psychic crap that she's saying everybody else is a witch for, she does the same thing, only God gave me these powers.
Right.
Well, I give myself to God and he gave me these magic powers. So it's okay if I use them. So why is it not okay that everybody else does?
Because they got them from the devil.
Right. Well, like, how do you know that? How do you know that? If it's okay for you, it's probably okay for some other people as well.
Yeah. I'll go into my rewatch and first thoughts of this. I pretty sure I saw this in theaters. And yeah, I mean, they touch about it. We'll talk about it briefly in the second one, but they give hints to other cases. Like all these movies start off with other cases, right? So this movie started off with Annabelle, right? In the, let's call it the real world, it was a possessed Raggedy Ann doll. And they start off this movie with the story of Annabelle and like, oh, now she's in her glass case. Did they have a room of all these supposed artifacts? Yes, they did. These are just not their most famous cases. The famous one is in number 2, I'll say right now, and that's what most people know is the Amityville Horror, which they touched briefly in the second one. yeah, I mean, they are interesting people in the way that they are horrible people that existed and then preyed upon everyone realistically, you know. And yeah, I agree. I don't like them for that. You know, that's something that I don't think people should do. It's one thing to console someone, it's another to take advantage and try to outsell and just put people in the spotlight that don't really want to be there. And yeah, they are not doing it for, you know, the greater good. They are doing it for themselves. But I can understand why these movies are in the $2 billion franchise. You know, are they PG-13 horrors full of jump scares? Yes, that's exactly what they are. You know, do I find the idea of demonic possession to be scary? No, it's we discussed this multiple times. It's just not something that is interesting to me. But you know, the jump scares do get people, and you gotta give him credit for James Wan for that. Is he knows how to write the PG-13 jump scare. And, you know, and instead of the, you know, dead cat on the violin, it's, you know, like tubas and trombones that are the tension building music for this one. Like I said, did I watch it? Yeah, it's something I watch. It's just it is a dumb horror movie, if you want to call it. I think it's more categorized as like as a thriller or a drama more than a horror movie. So it
depends on your definition. Like if you're a very religious person, which is kind of like who the target audience of this is, like this stuff is very scary to you.
Correct.
But the average person, especially a horror fan, this is not. Yeah, it's not scary at all.
Right.
But,
and you know, after watching this too, and you know, Ghost Adventures guy, he went to the house in Gary, Indiana, that did the same thing. Like he has his own show where he's essentially, you know, Ghost Hunters are the Ed and Lorraine Warren, and he actually has the same type of room where he has this artifact museum of possessed and haunted items. So, you know, I really believe that the Warrens, you know, helped create him and what he does, and he does the same thing.
Well, okay, I'll go one step further here and say that the Warrens and the people like them, but probably especially the Warrens, because they were probably the most famous out of the people doing this stuff, are directly responsible for the Satanic Panic.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, if you look at when these cases are happening, and their most famous cases were all like in the 70s,
yes,
or the very early 80s. And this stuff just, it kind of kept, you know, because they were constantly in the news, constantly on talk shows, constantly in everything. It didn't matter that they had, I mean, they touch on this in the second movie, they had people like academics come on there and just totally blow them out of the water, right? Like, where's your proof? There's no proof at all. And they had nothing. They had no proof at all in any way. So they couldn't defend themselves on these shows, but they kept showing up to them anyway. Because they were so starved for attention that they would just show up to anything they got invited to.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they kept pushing this stuff. So many people believed this trash that they started believing that all the stuff that they were saying about demons being everywhere, right? And you got to be careful not to let the demons in, or else your house will be haunted too. Blah blah blah, right? Yep. All that kind of stuff, pushing that into the mainstream and constantly having people exposed to this shit really opened up the door for people to be scared of Satanism at a grand scale, which is what started the whole satanic panic nonsense, right? All of a sudden now it was like, oh, music that's dark and says, you know, evil things. Now that's satanic. It's allowing these demons in, right? Oh, so they must be Satan worship. You know, Same thing with like, you know, all these ridiculous daycare stories of like satanic people using their children as sacrifices or whatever the hell. Who knows what they were talking about there. But yeah, all of these things, like, you know, Dungeons and Dragons notoriously got vilified by a lot of these religious groups for being, you know, oh, you're worshiping Satan, right? You're trying to summon demons in the game.
Yeah.
All of this stuff. And all this stuff is, again, what directly preceded this stuff was Ed and Lorraine Warren and people like them trying to push this, you know, satanic cults and demonic possessions are so commonplace, right? Because they see them all the time. That everybody needs to watch out for them. And that's exactly what again, that I believe they're directly responsible for it, and not only them, but them and people like them are responsible for pushing that and making it happen. The bad thing about it is that the Satanic Panic is still going today.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, really, if you look at, I mean, it's very recent as of like just, I mean, I don't even know if it's still going anymore. The whole Q stuff, is that even still happening? I know it was happening a couple years ago. I don't know if it's happening now, but like a whole like core belief in that whole Q thing was like there was a satanic cult that these, political people were sacrificing babies and drinking their blood. Again, it's all a direct relation to the Satanic Panic. Again, the Satanic Panic has a direct relation to Ed and Lorraine Warren and these people that led into this kind of stuff. So
Right.
Again, that's why I despise this fictionalized, bullshit version of them being like these heroes, because they're not. They caused a lot of heartache for a lot of people. All these like insane, crazy, satanic cult nonsense, which eventually was proven to be completely false. They found not one instance was credible in all this stuff. All the people that came forward and said that they were in satanic cults and they saw all these babies get murdered and all that kind of stuff, not once did they find a baby that was missing. Not once did they find remains where they said these things took place in. And they always found out that when it goes back down to it, they were like programmed to say stuff by these people that were specifically trained. So like they called it like, regression therapy, right? Where they're hypnotizing you and, you go back and see what, your past that you might not want to remember. That's what they sell it as. Well, really what they're doing is they're implanting memories. They're programming. It only works on children, mostly, because it's very obvious that they're trying to brainwash you, but it does work very well on children, and that's what it was. That's what all of those instances were.
Yeah.
So, like, all of that nonsense, all of that legal trouble, all of those lives that were ruined, because once somebody, accuses you of being in a satanic cult, that doesn't really wear off.
No.
So all these lives that were ruined, I mean, you tie it all back to Ed and Lorraine Warren and this garbage bullshit. And these movies like are somehow trying to like say that they're heroes, and all of these bullshit things that they came up with led into the Satanic Panic were real, and that they're somehow Christian superheroes.
Yep. Yeah. Well, do you have any highlights for this movie? We're going to get into a little point.
Highlights. I like Ron Livingston, and I like Lily Taylor.
Yes.
I don't like them in this movie. I think that they're phoning it in, and I think they knew that this movie was going to be trash, and I think that's why they were phoning it in. But I do like them as performers. I think they're great. I've seen them in a lot of things that they're great in.
Yes.
But yeah, I like them as people. I don't like them in this movie, but I like people. And I do like the idea of what they did with the end credits. They do this with all these three. I don't know if they do it with the other ones, the spin-off ones, but they do it where they have like a real recording, at least from that time period. And then they show like the pictures of like the fictionalized versions of them versus the real version of them.
Yep.
It was interesting the way they did that. I know they do that with all of them, but I'm just going to give them, at least I thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's driving more credence to, the based on the true story. Did these people exist? Yes. That's did some of these instances occur, or at least in their heads? Yes. But everything else, yes, is fictionalized. Yes, it's cool to have the recordings. It's almost like more of a true crime-esque point to it. I think the atmosphere is great. I mean, regardless of anything else with these movies, the atmosphere, the tension is good. I think it builds onto it really well. And I just got no, because we talked about we did Insidious, where they talk about all these previous ghosts, and we never get the backstories. And in these movies, we do get backstories for all these ghostly apparitions. Did you like that, at least in these movies, as opposed to Insidious?
I did, but the only thing, to me, it kind of gets canceled out because they really can't, and this is in real life too. I'm not saying just specifically in the movie. This is the whole story has this problem.
Mm-hmm.
They can't differentiate between ghosts and demons.
Yes.
Okay, because a demon, like they say this themselves in some of the other movies.
Inhuman. It's inhuman.
It's an inhuman entity. It has never lived on this world before, but it wants to be in this world. But then they tell the backstory, and it's just a person.
Yes.
So, like, they are literally going against their own rules in the movie. So the backstory, to me, it gets canceled out. Yes, I do think the backstory is interesting, but it gets canceled out because they can't understand if this is a ghost or a demon. They use the term interchangeable, which is by their own rules, not what they're supposed to do.
Right. You could almost, I mean, especially in number 2, it's the overarching thing is there's a demon that then is able to hold ghost and make the ghost do their bidding to do these ghostly things. It seems like they're trying to say.
Well, as close as I got, because I was trying to make sense of it. It looks like the demon somehow possesses or controls them. Like in this first one, they never even mention that another entity existed outside of this lady that cursed people.
Right.
But this is, saying that if a demonic entity somehow possessed her and made her do these evil things, right? Like she was trying to sacrifice her baby and blah, blah, blah. So what I think happens is when the demon is like possessing you and you do evil stuff and then you eventually die, the demon like kind of owns your soul.
It's like a grudge. Right, it's like a grudge. Yeah.
Yeah, so then the demon gets to like use you in whatever manner it sees fit to fuck with whoever else is going to be in the house.
Right, because Rory was killed, but he didn't do necessarily evil, but he's still held there because like
Rory I think was just a standard ghost.
Yes, but his mom was still there.
But his mom was because the mom did the evil. The mom was possessed by the demon, did the evil thing. And then, essentially the demon took her soul or whatever.
Yeah.
So then he gets to do whatever he wants with her.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, I kept calling
something
the demonic
like that.
Entity a he. It's a thing. It's not it doesn't have a gender, but whatever. But yeah, that's as close as I could make sense of it.
Okay.
I don't think that that's what the rules that they were doing. I think they just don't care. I think they just spout nonsense, and it doesn't matter to them because the term can go either way. And it doesn't matter. Nobody's calling him on it because either people are either buying into this shit immediately or are calling him bullshit and will never believe.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? And so it doesn't matter what they say. Whatever bullshit, evidence, quote unquote, that they produce. Again, there's going to be two kinds of people. People that buy into it immediately and people that go, this is horseshit.
Right.
That's it. And that's how it is now. Like all these, conspiracy theorists, like there's no proof that these things happen, that these things are real, right? But if the other side convinces you that, oh, it's not real, but the reason why you can't find any evidence to the contrary is because they control it. So that basically meaning, like, if you can't find evidence to the contrary, that's evidence to the other side. You know what I mean? It's like they put you in this like loop where you literally can't get out. If you keep believing what they say, you will never get out.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the same loop that these guys get put in.
All right. Well, why don't we get into our low points for this movie?
Okay. I said it before and I'll say it again. I hate Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'm going to keep it short this time. Again, they're just hucksters. They're just, con men. They're just selling shit to, people and then trying to, glamorize themselves for doing it. Again, and this is just, making them look like they're more than they are, making them look like, again, like they're, somehow some kind of superhero or something, for the church, when in reality they're just hucksters. Again, I really don't understand why this is just the first thing that all horror movies do. It's always the generic horror movies. Whenever anyone goes to anywhere bad, the first thing that happens is their pet dies.
Yep.
Every single time. If there's a dog or a cat or any kind of animal involved in these like especially a PG-13 horror movie, the animal will be dead first.
Was it Sadie?
Sadie, yes.
Sadie.
Poor Sadie wouldn't even go in the house and somehow
Correct.
still got strangled to death outside on the first night.
Yep.
Again, it just every movie, they kill the freaking animals first. I don't like. Come on, find something else.
Well, they can't kill the people.
Right. I mean, the whole true story, like this is based on a true story. It's not. No, it's not. I mean, did these people think that they lived in a haunted house? Yes. Did they immediately pretty much get debunked as soon as anybody for real showed up? Yes. But Ed and Lorraine showed up and was like, "Oh, this is totally real. Let's call the newspaper. Let's sell a book. Let's sell a movie." Like immediately went to all that kind of stuff and made up all kinds of goofy stuff to oh, this is what happened. Another thing, we already touched on this a little bit. Demons aren't scary.
No.
Well, demons in the way they're portrayed. Like this whole oh, you let a demon in, now you're possessed. Like it's not really scary. It can be done in scary and interesting, fun ways, right?
Yeah.
Like you can kind of say that, Smile is kind of like that, right?
But
done well. Yeah. It's done fun. It's an interesting story. Blah blah whatever. This is it's not scary. It's just boring. It's very scary. It's scary to a very specific subgenre of people that is not us.
No.
Okay. The child acting was horrible. I mean, the acting all around is bad in this movie. I mean, just everyone sucks. But the child acting is just especially bad. I mean, the little girl is they keep having her say these stupid one-line things, and they're delivered so poorly. It's why do you have scenes that hinge on these lines, and the child actor cannot pull them off at all? And there's just too many damn kids. I couldn't even remember which one is this. We're going it's 5 girls, and they're not really differentiated in any way.
No,
they're just I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what their names were.
Yeah, don't know.
But yeah, and again, the whole it was just kind of an offhanded comment of oh yeah, the lady, she was trying to sacrifice her baby in the fireplace. What? Why would she be doing that? It doesn't make sense. And why was people there to witness the event and then immediately hang her from a tree outside? Wasn't it her land and her house?
Yes.
What were people doing in her land? Why was a mob of people already on her land to prevent her from doing this? Anyway, this, the stuff we already talked about, the satanic panic stuff. And essentially, this movie boils down to me is just kind of propaganda. This is a propaganda movie. This is the kind of thing that the Q people watch to look, this stuff really happened. To somehow think that this is real life and that these things are some kind of real because these people technically did exist.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you have any other low points before I get into my...
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I completely agree. It's very confused a lot. And I even think in Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, the difference between ghosts and demons is often blurred. Because, even when we get to the paranormal activity, it's a demon, but it has, poltergeist haunting aspects where the idea is the demon is trying to wear you down into a state of frenzy and paranoia, making you more susceptible to be possessed, right? The house with the many layers is weird.
Right, like I said, there was they found new crawl spaces 4 times.
Yes.
Literally 4 times.
Yeah. And the thing that, here's what makes 0 sense to me. Obviously the idea of the person that lived there previously didn't like what was in the basement, so boarded it up. What was down in that basement? The furnace.
Right. like, I wonder where the furnace is.
The furnace was down there. I'm just going, how has this not been a problem before? The furnace needs to be there. Like, how are they surviving the winter?
Well, like I said, like this is 1971, right? And this is old timey in 1971.
This is New England. This is New England area,
which means this is probably like a wood fire furnace, which means somebody's gonna have to go down there all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel you there.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah. I mean, it's basement. There's a lot of stuff down there. And I don't even understand how they got some of that stuff down there. There has to be like the old cellar doors too. Like there's like a piano down there. I'm like, they're not getting it through that tight turn there to get down the stairs. There's a storm shelter cellar somewhere outside that we just didn't see.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, how could you not know that it was there? Like I said, in the New England area, nor'easters are a thing, and people would have frozen to death because, let's face it, how people fall through these floors. Yes, the house is falling apart, but it's like made of paper mache at times. And we even see that in the second one as well. Like when these going, we'll get to that point. But yeah, it's like everything's made out of paper mache. Like, oh, let me just bust through this. Like the girl barely knocked into the wall, and like it wasn't even nailed in. It's like, oh look, I took this one board out, and look, and this like it's like velcroed together.
Right.
And that whole clapping game, stupid.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure someone played that game. Also, I am very wary of anyone that just buys a house and keeps all the furniture, which is a very common occurrence in all these movies. Is like, you know, this armoire came here, and like, what, did they not notice the hole that was behind it? Like, she had to put her clothes into that thing at some point in time. How would she not notice a gigantic hole that's all it can fit into in there? Like, wouldn't you move stuff around? And for the house being so dilapidated, they proceed to do zero work on it. like half of it's like on the outside, like half the house is moldy. I'm like, what's that house like on the inside to do? Like, here's furniture's everywhere, and we're doing nothing about it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, a lot of that furniture looked like it was not moving from the room. It was probably built in the room it was in, and there's no way to get it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are my low points of the movie. Well, so why don't you go first and tell us what our olives are?
I don't, I had a hard time giving it any numbers at all. And I was like, I'm trying to think like overall. I mean, I don't think it was as bad as Jack Frost. You know what I mean? But like, not by much. So
Were they better or worse than Insidious?
Worse.
Okay.
Worse. Insidious, wasn't great, but at least it didn't like push the Jesus juice on you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So like at least it's got that going for it. I feel like that's what it was. Like I was watching this, I was like, this feels like a more religious version of Insidious. Like that's what this is.
Yeah.
Literally the same actor and everything.
Yes.
So again, I dislike just about everything in this movie, but again, I don't think I hated it as much as Jack Frost. Like at least it had better production values than Jack Frost did. So I will give it a 1. It gets a 1 ghost knocks out of 10.
Impressive. Oh, you know me and my love of cheese. This isn't a cheesy movie. Like intentionally cheesy, right? Is this like a horror movie that most people would watch? Like, the wife gets jump scared pretty easily, so she doesn't like to watch too hardcore stuff that we sometimes watch for this podcast late at night. But this is just like I'm turning on a horror movie and not think. That's the best way to go into the Conjuring universe, is to just turn off your brain and turn off all logic and reason in your brain for it. Do people like these movies? Yes. Is this a $2 billion franchise? Somehow. Yes. So obviously they're going to keep making it. I don't remember what I gave in the Insidious. I know I liked Insidious a bit, but yeah, I'm going 4 ghost knocks out of 10. I will only follow the ghost knocks 3 times for a room. The 4th one, I just go fuck it and go somewhere else.
I like how that goofy explanation too is like, oh, it knocks. It's always 3 times. Like, why would it knock 3 times? Oh, it's making fun of what was it? Jesus, God, and the Holy Ghost, whatever it is, the Holy Trinity.
Yeah,
like,
it's a mock against the church, against the Holy Trinity.
I was like, that's a hell of a stretch. Come on, dude.
Yeah. Right. Well, I guess I'm up then for The Conjuring 2, which came out in 2016. I like they stopped numbering after number 2 as well.
Yeah, again, I was like, okay, here's 1, here's 2. Where the hell is 3? It took me a minute to find it. I didn't realize, they just stopped using numbers.
Yes. So once again, we're going to say very brief about this. Once again, the movie kind of starts off with like another case that they're on, which somehow leads to the next one. Very, very loosely, and this one is probably the most well-known Amityville Horror. Essentially, because we have to say this plot thread, because she goes through and reenacts, Ronald, killing everyone, and during her, non-demonic, devil-given possession abilities, psychic abilities to see the past, present, and future. She's going through, and then she sees the nun. So cue up the second spinoff for this franchise. They introduced Annabelle in the first one. They introduced the nun in this one. And there were actually more plans to do like the Crooked Man from this as well.
Yeah, I get that.
Right. And she also then sees, Ed being impaled by a tree. So, long story short, it's a year later, we're in jolly old England where children are trying not to smoke on cigarettes. And, well, once again, lots of children.
Yeah, not quite as many, but still too many.
4. There's still 4 of them. Yeah. And, I will point this out now. They live in, let's call it a flat, but it's like a townhouse in America. This is now 1977? 1975, somewhere around there. So it's a couple years later.
Whatever, 70, it's mid-70s.
Yes, and we have Intracrawl. This is the most documented case of poltergeist and demonic activity ever recorded, but still nothing came out of it. So strange occurrences start happening. Besides, their entire basement being flooded all the time.
Right. Yeah, I was like, that's a huge issue.
We say this a lot because I have problems with that. I'm like, the house would not be standing.
I don't know. Right. Maybe that house is maybe that neighborhood's like Venice.
Maybe.
Like everything's underwater all the time.
Anyway, we get the children playing with the classic "How do you find a demon?" from the Exorcist. Well, of course, a Ouija board. Right, trying to get
a homemade Ouija board.
Yes. Yeah, and lo and behold, once again, one of the children sleepwalks.
Yep.
Yeah, so just just a whole bunch of stuff starts happening. The girls starts being sick. We have like the chair of a million farts in the corner that came with the house. That she kept hearing, voices. She keeps telling, she's hearing a guy who died there. And it's talking about Bill Wickens. I can't. He's a very cockney Bill Wilkins.
Bill Wilkins.
Yeah. Yeah. So essentially, then somehow the story in England, because there's people trying to help out there and trying to investigate, which once again, some of these people were real. They existed. And they get called in there, and you're like, "Oh, we gotta stop doing this. We're not doing this for the money. We're not doing this for the fame. We're doing it to help people." Right. So we'll just leave our kid and go fly to England. The kindness of our hearts to pay. Who's paying for all this stuff? Anyway, they're kind of going over the cases. They're hearing all the stuff. Once again, trying to get church approval because they believe. The family immediately they stop debunking cases at this point in time of their careers, or saying they're debunking it. They have the girl, saying, "Oh, she talks in Bill Wilkins' voice. Oh, he won't come out if you're watching." So they have her like hold water in her mouth, and we have the furry, blurry background of the old man eventually in the chair, having different voices, and it's not the girl, just talking to it. We get an awful rendition of, what? Only Fools Rush In.
Yeah, dude. Come on. What is with
Elvis?
Yeah, what is with the sing along? Come on.
Well, because there's no music in the house because, the father left.
The father left and took all the records. Like, you still have a radio.
Right.
I know they had music back then.
Right. So yeah, just kind of more stuff going on there. Lorraine gets her premonitions again of the nun being there. Ed happens to draw the nun, and then we get spooky nun stuff. And yeah, they're trying to go through it, recording all the stuff, somehow get the guy out there as well. Then they start recording like, oh, wait, you guys, the little girl goes in the kitchen and starts throwing stuff around and everything like that. Right. And they find her eventually after wreaking havoc, and like she's contorted horribly in like the pipe access panel.
Yeah. Yes. It looks like the wet wall of the house. Like she's somehow like jammed in it.
Right. And foreshadowing of a pipe that's there. That burns Ed because of the hot steam. And then one of the ladies there is like, "Hey, you guys got to see this." And look, she was throwing stuff around. We have it on tape that the girl was just, "This is all a hoax. All right, cool. Let's leave. We're done here. Nothing we can do." And Mom's like, "Well, we're still having issues." "Nope, she's faking it. We have proof." "Oh, well." So they get on the train, and their tape recordings cross, and it's like, what if I play these together? It's Bill. He can't leave. It won't let him leave. Bill Wilkins is once again a ghost who is then being controlled by a demon, in this case, the nun. And what has to be like the world's longest departure for a train, unless they got there like 2 hours early. Lauren's like, "Oh man, if we knew its name, we can get rid of it." I know its name. I was able to spell it out. It's Valak. I'll get into my rants about that later. It's like, oh man, so it is real. Yeah, it was just, the demon made her do it to get them out of there. And so they go back in the rain, go into the even deeper water in the basement. All the doors break. And then Ed is trying to get in there, and he is blinded by the steam, and we get his point of view. And not only did the steam cause him to have bad vision, but also muffled his hearing.
Of course.
I'll go more.
Just like, when you're ever like lost in a neighborhood, you're like, man, I can't find this place any. What do? You turn the radio down.
Right.
Because it helps somehow.
Right, but I don't understand how his hearing got worse when he got blinded, but whatever. So Lorraine eventually finds her way in there because of the paper mache floor that's from the basement to the kitchen. I'm like, if you watch him clawing through that and him prying himself up, like, it is flimsy. Like, how that's not falling apart for them just standing on it in that kitchen? I don't get. So anyway, yeah, so the showdown, she's about to kill herself because lightning strikes a tree. Like, that's a tree from her premonition. The little girl tries to jump out, because the nun just wants to take someone with them to hell. Ed stops her with the world's strongest curtain rod ever. And then Lorraine's like, oh, look, this room full of crosses. And the turns on, I know your name. You gave me your name. Your name is Valak. Go back to hell, you bitch. And it does. Not before turning in its true form, which is not human. Ed doesn't die. And they take the Crooked Man song because one of the kids has a stutter, and they put that next to the music box. Kind of. Also, Ed gives the little girl his cross that his dad gave him, and she, found someone to marry that believes her and takes her for who she is. And we also get the locket, so the mother and father, Ed and Lorraine, don't stray from their daughter too far, even though they just constantly leave her all the time in the room with all these demonic possessed items.
Right.
She comes into play in Annabelle a lot. And yeah, and they're able to share visions now and talk to each other essentially through having these necklaces of each other's pictures. End of story. Okay. So I'll go on my first thought was when I saw this, I'm pretty sure I saw this in theaters as well. I'm like, they hinted at the most famous case of it being the Amityville Horror, which I do enjoy the original, and I do enjoy the Ryan Reynolds remake as well. They glossed over it a lot and then made the world's flimsiest connection that the nun was somehow involved with, the Lutz family and the murder that happened there beforehand. And now in England, which is England's probably the most famous haunting to date. Well,
it's the most famous. Yeah, it got a lot of media attention, but it's also most famously like super fake.
Yes.
Like every single part of it has been disproven. And like even the guy who was like the most diehard trying to sell this was on record saying, well, yeah, they faked a lot of it, but some of it I saw was real. I was like, okay, dude, when you started off like that, no one is going to believe anything, man. Like,
no.
Well, a lot of it was fake. Yeah, I'll admit that. But I mean, I saw some stuff that looked real. Like, dude, just because they fooled you with like one thing does not mean the 12 other things they got caught, faking aren't real.
Correct. But yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, once again, if you just turn off the logic and reason in your brain, and you can enjoy the movie.
I would love to do that if it was not glorifying Ed and Lorraine Warren. I could do that if it was just some no-name people, and if this was not like kind of based on a true story, using real people that I fucking hate. You know what? These movies probably would not get these bad scores from me. They're not good for sure. But like if these were fake people and this is just a screenplay, fine. I would probably not like it, but it would not get this bad. It gets this bad because I know who these people are. I know these cases because these are like, they're super famous cases. And if you look up Ed and Lorraine Warren, these are the cases that you see.
Yes.
It's like this one, not really, because they weren't really involved in this one. They tried to be.
Yes.
Like they showed up going like, hey, can we get a piece of this? Like, hey, you guys want to be famous in the U.S.?
Hey,
like,
let's join you.
That's what they were doing. They basically showed up like going, hey, we can make this a big thing in the U.S. You let us in. And they're like, get the fuck off our property. Like they wouldn't even let them in the house.
Right.
That was their involvement in real life. They showed up to the house saying, hey, we can do a lot of things for you. We can make you famous in the U.S. And they're like, get the fuck off my property. And that was it. That was their entire involvement with the case. All the rest of the bullshit, like, I mean, so stupid. Like, you look at the pictures, they're saying, look at the children levitating in midair. It's very clearly a child jumping on the bed.
And
they're taking pictures of the child when they're up in the air.
Yep.
And then using the picture going, look, they're floating in the air. Like, Yeah, that's what happens when you jump. Like, if you're familiar with like gravity and physics, like, yeah, you jump and you float. I mean, it might only be a millisecond, nanosecond, however long you float up there, but technically you are. And if you take a picture at that little, time, yes, it will look like you're floating, but you're not actually levitating. That's not how it works.
Oh, now you tell me.
Well, I'm just saying, even my fat ass could jump up and you could take a picture of me and say, look, he's floating. I'm not floating. I just jumped and he took a picture of me at the height. But again, this is like also a thing that's been like disproven. Like, people have been trying to use this as, look at me levitating, take a picture. They've been doing that since cameras were invented. Like in the 1800s, they, famously, there's a guy who's saying he could levitate, but only in the dark. Yep. And only with like 20 cameras, they would take a picture and they would pick the one picture that they liked. And of course, it was him just jumping in a dark room. And they kept taking pictures until they got one that was him floating in the air. And here you go.
Well, I can turn invisible as long as you don't look at me.
Right. And then so they basically like, snuck a camera in there and like, were taking pictures outside of their little group. And they very clearly saw a guy just jumping in the dark. Like, it was very easily disproven. And like, these pictures are very easily disproven. And I love how people hold this up and look at this proof. Like, that's the proof. That's a kid jumping out of bed. Like, show me a kid, like, show me something like levitating, and not like an illusionist with like a hoop around him. Like, I'm not talking like that. Like, show me something real. Like, how hard, if it's actually really happening, how hard would it be to get real evidence?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would not be that hard. And so if you're coming back with bullshit like this and people are literally watching you and filming you fake shit, why would they ever believe you? And that's again, what I loved about this movie is they did say, they did make it up. But then like, as soon as they left, they're like, but they only made it up because the demon said if she didn't make it up, they was going to kill the whole family. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, the demon has threatened to kill their family multiple times. The demon obviously does not have that kind of power. It just has the power to like torture you and make you not be able to sleep well. Right? That's the only power it has. That's the only thing it's shown it has the power to do.
Yes.
Like, again, like, children are locked alone in the room with this like evil man ghost, and all they do is scream and roll around. Like, yeah, will it keep you awake at night? Will it make you miserable? I'm sure it will. They're not gonna die though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they take all these threats like literally. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that your first thought?
Well, yeah, but and then I'll end it with, and then I love how they somehow this famous hoax, they somehow vindicate it and say, oh, this is real by like, and then, like with the story when it should have ended, and then they go, and then, oh no, we come back and no, it really did happen.
Yes.
This is bullshit. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll start with my highlights. Once again, atmospherically, good. Was the nun Valak meant to be creepy? I think it worked. I think an explanation was there once again with the lore that we crave sometimes like that. There's a good explanation for it, but this really felt to me. I'll just go a little bit, all right, just say this point, then I'll go into your highlights. This was the Conjuring spin-off the movie. This is the backdoor pilot for a whole bunch of universes they're trying to build off of the Conjuring world. Yeah. What about you? Do you have any highlights?
Yeah. They had some cool songs in the movie. They had like The Clash, and like some like cool like kind of timing. The movie was in 1977. I just remembered that because I was trying to figure out what year these songs came out in, and it was
London's Calling was what 76 ish.
It was like 77. So like I mean the music was pretty cool. I mean the sing along was not cool. That song that he did a shitty version of is pretty good. But he did a really, really bad version.
It's Elvis version, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're not counting that. But the Clash, like some of the other songs that they kind of mixed in there were good. I like those. I thought the house, I mean, it kind of goes both ways, right? Like, the house was disgusting.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like that chair was sitting in the corner, right? It's an old beat to shit chair, right? It's a leather chair. Like, the leather wears away and it looks all ratty and beat up. Like, that's acceptable, right? Like, the fucking wall behind it was covered in mold.
Yes.
It was like mold and mildew, like literally from floor to ceiling. Like, that's disgusting. Like, I understand, like, oh, the chair came with the house. Like, you can't move it to clean the wall?
Or get rid of it.
Wrong with
a man died in this chair. Like, it looks like he shit himself when he died.
Right. It looks like he died, and they just, like, picked him up and threw him behind the chair, and he just rotted back there. That's what it looks like happened.
Yes.
And then, like, they go upstairs, and, like, you look at the walls, and they're, like, these huge, massive cracks in them. There's, like, all this, like, water damage, and things just, like, look like it's falling apart. Like, I mean, I say it good because it clearly looked like it was falling apart. I don't know if they did that on purpose or not. I'm assuming that they did.
Right.
But yeah, it was like, I don't know. Are they trying to show like how poor they are? I was like, what is the point of that?
Yeah.
Like, poor people are not necessarily unclean. Like, that's not what poor means.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what point they were trying to get across there. But again, whoever did the effects of aging the house did.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the Crooked Man himself was kind of interesting. They went for like a, because they were. The thing that he goes through, I forget what they call him, but like, it's the optical illusion of like he's moving because it's moving so fast. It's like a flip book kind of thing.
Yeah.
When he was moving in real life, they used like a
stratoscope.
Well, yeah,
right?
but they used like it looked like stop motion animation, which is essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
But when he was moving around, like when he manifested himself, like he moved that way, and like he literally like looked like he was like stop motion animation frame. It looked pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty cool effect that they did with him. The design was not that great, because he had like he looked like a kind of looked like E.T. wearing a dress a little bit. He's wearing like a red hat. They could have done a better job, but I like the effects of it.
He looked like creepypasta.
Uh-huh.
Like the Slender Man, right?
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, but like his top hat that goes like over his eyes. Yeah.
Again, like the effects of him himself, I don't like the style decisions they made with him. I just like the effects that they did with him. I thought they were pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And that's it for highs. So you want to?
Why don't you roll into your lows?
Okay. So now we're going to add to Lorraine's list of powers in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to add astral projection.
Yep.
We're going to add not only, can she know the past, but she can also see visions of the future. Can also see alternate futures and, has the power of fate to change those futures. I mean, there's so, I mean, they do literally do like a seance. Like these are the things that these people always say are demonic. Like you should never do a seance because you're inviting a demon in. Right? That's what they always say.
You open the door.
Right. You're inviting a demon in. You should never do stuff like this. So what do they fucking do? Start doing a seance. And why is that okay? Because I have God powers. God let me do this. So it's okay if God says so.
Yep.
I don't understand. How does that how is it okay for you to do it because you say God and other people that don't say God do it and it's a demon? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's where we're at.
Yes.
Again, Ed and Lorraine Warren, I hate them. I hate them a lot. But they get glorified in this movie, and the funny thing is they were barely involved in this case. Barely involved, and they sell them as like the heroes of this case. And like the one guy who was the real huckster that was like actually trying to like sell the family on this stuff, they just sold him as like a kind of hanger on, right? Like
Yeah.
the poor, what was his name, Morris or something.
Morris. Yep.
Yeah, so like he was just kind of like, there, like, oh well, I technically found it first, but I'm out of my element. I need Ed and Lorraine Warren to tell me what's going on, which is not what happened in real life. In real life, they said, oh yeah, great, you're Ed and Lorraine Warren, great, now go blow. Like they don't want anything to do with them. And so this guy becomes second fiddle immediately when they show up, because of course this is the Conjuring universe, and they're superheroes.
Right.
But yeah, so again, my same rant about the satanic panic and their whole version of this. Now the child acting in this movie is also atrocious. It is so freaking bad, and like their like demonic voices that they do is very clearly just a child trying to sound scary. Like they try to put like a little bit of a noise filter on it to make it sound scary, but like it is not scary at all. Like when they finally put like Bill Wilkins' voice in there, like you can tell it's somebody else talking, but like before that point, it's like just a little kid trying to be spooky, and it's very clearly like that's what it is.
Yes.
And when you listen to the real recording, that is exactly how it sounds.
Oh, absolutely.
It sounds like a child trying to sound scary, and like they can't even get it to focus enough to answer a question. Like it's again, it's like a child. A child, their mind is fleeting, right? They focus on things that they want to think about, not what you want them to think about. And that's what this, like you listen to the actual recording, that's what they do. Like the child is very clearly distracted, talking in a demon voice, but then they just change the subject. To start talking about stuff that only kids care about in a demon voice. Like it's very clearly a kid fucking around. But again, yeah, they do that. So anyway, like all the children in this, they're all screaming non-stop, and everybody is terrible. Like everybody, like again, they follow the same pattern. Like walk into a room, hear a knock, go walk to the source of the knock. Oh, there's a knock behind you. Go walk to the source of that knock. Oh, then something happens. Whether it's like a dresser moves or like, the old man appears behind you, whatever it is. It's like they all follow the same pattern. Like nobody can like snap themselves out of that pattern enough to realize, hey, maybe I shouldn't do the same thing over and over and over again. And okay, the one skeptic lady who is the one lady that goes into this with an open mind, right?
Yep.
And very clearly finds them fabricating evidence and then goes, yeah, I found the evidence. They're fabricating everything. We're done. Right. And they all go, yeah, you're right. We are done. And they all leave except for, of course, we need to come back. Look, that was all, fake. But of course, nobody else comes back. So it's only, Ed and Lorraine Warren that get to tell people this is what we saw.
Right.
Bullshit. And again, okay. If a demon is easily controlled if you know its name, right?
Uh-huh.
How did she get its name?
Ghostwriting.
No, she asked it what its name was.
Yes.
And it told her.
Correct.
Really? If you knew my name and were able to then tell me what to do and control my entire life and have dominion over me, as they say in the movie, right? Why would you just casually answer that question? That doesn't make any sense.
What's your name? Alec, what's it to you?
Right, yeah. Like, I'm this all-powerful demon that controls this entire house and is torturing all these people in this family, and I'm also torturing your family all the way across the sea or whatever the hell they were, right? Like, I control everything everywhere. But the only way you can beat me is to know my name, right? So what am I going to do with my name? Am I going to never tell anyone about it and lock it away and kill everyone that's ever heard it? No. I'm just going to tell you when you ask nicely.
Right.
What an idiot. Like, I mean, this is just so stupid. And again, like, what would they didn't even give an excuse in the movie, but like, what would their excuse be in real life? Oh, well, I had the power of God in my question. Therefore, it had to answer me. Why? Why would it have to answer you? If it's opposed to God, why would it ever give in to it?
Correct.
Just so stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. When that lady, is like, hey, this is probably a hoax, I'll go in to see it, but it's probably a hoax. And everybody's like, oh, whatever. You're the skeptic. Okay. everybody it's your Debbie Downer, right? Because she's the skeptic. And then she finds the evidence that they're clearly bringing it up, and they're like, okay, whatever. And then, of course, she gets proven wrong. It's just, that's how they do it. Like it was the cop in the first one. Was like, oh, do you think it's the wind now? Like, just, again, trying to show, look, at even skeptics can be convinced. Like, yeah, if this stuff actually really happened the way you're showing it in the movie, they would probably be convinced. Yes, that's true. But as to what really happened in real life, no, they would not.
Right.
And again, the sing along was fucking horrible. It just butchered a song, just stop. I don't know what's up with that. And just overall, all the acting sucked.
Yes.
Every single. I mean, the children were especially bad, and they again following the suit of the first one, and then this one, they all just suck. The only one that I kind of sort of liked was Morris. I like him as an actor. I think he's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, again, he was just there in this. Again, he just immediately plays second fiddle to, Ed and Lorraine Warren, the best demonologist in the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, I completely agree. That was my one big point was Valak, right? As we discussed previously in other lores, it's, it is believed in some parts of lore that if you know something's real name, that you do have dominion over it. To your point, you would never give it up.
Right.
Ever.
That's what I'm saying. If you are a demon that's been alive for thousands of years, what would you do? You would never, ever tell anyone, for one, right? And two, if anybody knew it, you would just kill them or let them die off of old age so that no one would ever know it.
Right.
But no, oh, what's your name? Oh, it's Valak. Oh, damn it. You took me. It's that. It's that easy. Come on.
Yes.
And of course, and I think they really did that. So that at the end, when she was like, oh, what are you going to do to stop the big bad monster? Hand me my Bible. I think they seriously did that just so they could use that line. That, the Bible is going to save the story. Give me the Bible. Yeah, I think that was the whole point of that, so that she could say that line, and all the Jesus people could be like, "Oh, look, she said the thing."
Right. And once again, I said before, the 5 feet of water in the basement, and when he's clearly climbing out of the hole, he's able to push through. He's pushing up, and the entire floor is sagging there. I'm like, son of a bitch, he's falling through. There's no way no one would not fallen through. There's no way the freaking refrigerator would be standing on that floor.
Right.
And, even if they said, with her, all that stuff, and she wasn't shown to be a very, circus kid to be able to bend themselves into the wet wall like that. That would be disturbing by itself.
Okay,
that would be
here's the thing. Children are very, very flexible.
I know.
You can make a kid fold into something, you'd be like, I would be fucking dead because my back is broken. No way I could do that, right? But a child can literally fold themselves up like a fucking, sheet and fit into a drawer. So, I mean, I've seen them do all kinds of crazy stuff.
I mean, I was that bendy when I was a kid too. But,
everybody was.
Yeah. And then once again, him getting the hot steam in his eyes somehow made his vision ringy and unable to hear. That's not how temporary blindness works. I'm sorry.
Hey, like I said, when I get lost, I have to turn down the radio. Okay, even though the sound has nothing to do with me finding the location I'm looking for, but somehow it helps. So vision and hearing are linked in some way, shape.
It's not like that.
I know. It's teasing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Crooked Man was never spun off. It didn't, but the Nun, well, we'll be getting that in 2 weeks.
Okay, now, am I wrong in thinking that I saw the Crooked Man as a spinoff in the Insidious universe? Or did they just cross their wires?
They crossed their wires.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I swear to God, I saw the Crooked Man as a potential spinoff in the Insidious universe when we were doing research for that.
Yeah, the Sinister Insidious were supposed to cross over at some point.
Whatever.
There might be a Crooked Man in that universe too, but this Crooked Man was supposed to have its own villainous thing like Annabelle and the Nun.
Yeah, no, it makes sense in this universe. Like, I totally get it. I'm just saying, like,
Right.
I remember seeing it mentioned in the Insidious universe, and I think that may have just been wires crossed.
Yeah. I'll go first with the number of ghost knocks out of 10. I liked the first one more. Not by much. So I'm going 3.5 ghost knocks out of 10. How about you?
I honestly, I don't know. I think I did like it less than the first one. So I'll 0.9.
0.9?
0.9 ghost knocks out of 10.
Okay. Well, why don't you then bring us home with The Devil Made Me Do It.
The devil made me do it. Okay, so essentially what happens is that we'll get into the real version of this story afterwards, which is funny. Funny compared to this fictionalized version.
Yes.
So this version of the story is there's a family, whatever, we got mom and dad, we got a daughter who's like, of marrying age. I don't know how old she is. She's like, 20 or something. And then like her fiance, and then their young little boy, like her younger brother.
We'll call him Glasses.
Yeah, Glasses. I don't remember his name. Glasses. So he is, in the beginning, we don't find out what happened at all. He's just possessed. So in this first scene, he's possessed. Like, oh, we got to get him to the church. We don't have time. We have to do the exorcism right now. So they like put him on the kitchen table. And they're holding him down. And of course, like the second movie, the kid's doing contortionist moves with his body. He's thrashing all around. And so they're trying to get all the demons out of his body, and they can't lock him down. He keeps throwing everybody around. He like knocks out the sister. He knocks out the mom. The dad got stabbed in the leg or something. Yep. So he's like stuck upstairs. He can't come down. So they can't get a hold of him. So like the fiance grabs the boy and is like, yeah, okay, demon. If you won't leave him, then you just come into me. I'll let you come into me if you leave him alone. And then, of course, everything's fine after that.
Yep.
But the only person who sees this is Ed Warren. And Ed Warren is in the process of having a heart attack. At
so
the time
clearly
that this
in
happened.
the right state of mind.
Right. Yeah, so he's the only one that witnesses this. Everybody else was like knocked out or something, or in the other room. So, when that happens, everything is fine. Everything's peachy keen. And then Ed is in a coma for an unknown amount of time. Now, in real life, this event was like 5 months before the second event. So I don't know if they were trying to say that he was in a coma for 5 months or what, but whatever. Unspecified.
Let's just say he was healing from his sticks.
Right. So he's unspecified amount of time goes. Like Ed wakes up. And Lorraine's there. He's like, "Oh, Lorraine, you got to get everybody on the phone. You got to call the police." And she's like, "What?" He's like, "I saw the demon leave the boy and go into the older boy. And so if we don't get the police there, something bad's going to happen." Even though it was like, however long has passed, nothing has happened. But the second that Ed wakes up and knows this information, now bad things happen. So they call the police. I don't know what they tell them, but they get the police to go out there. Essentially what happens is I don't remember, what's the guy's name? David or something? Whatever. The fiance. I don't remember what his name was. So he is like not feeling good at work, so he like leaves and he comes home and he's like sweating like a lot. I don't know, but so is the other guys. I don't know if that's just like their shtick in this movie is like sweaty people, like make them sweaty if they're supposed to be like bad or something. I don't know. Anyway, so they're like all, the land.
His name's Arnie.
Arnie, that was it. So the landlord / like boss, whatever person is like drunk as shit. And it like he gets Arnie to like fix his stereo. And he's like, and the stereo is fixed. He's like, yes. He's like turning it up and jamming, and like him and Arnie are like drinking. And so like, the girl comes in going like, hey, it's like noon. You guys should like not be drinking and jamming music. Like, we got work to do. And so he like, starts dancing with the girl. And so the guy, has like visions of like demons and shit, whatever. He has visions that this guy turns into a demon and attacks him, and he ends up stabbing him to death
22 times.
22 times. And so he like, leaves. He gets picked up by the police down the street. And essentially he goes in there. So, Ed and Lorraine immediately go into, you didn't do this. The demons, possessed you and made you do this. Like, we saw you take the demon from the boy, and now the demon's in you, and the demon made you do this. So, like, the lawyer literally, has him plead not guilty by reason of demonic possession.
Well, I gotta say this. They invited her to dinner because she's going to have to prove to them that demons exist. And they go, okay, and then we don't see it.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, we don't. we do get proof later, though, but it's for a different person. But anyway.
Yes.
So they're like, oh, no, like, so that's, okay, we need to do this case, right? So they need to find, like, evidence. So they go into the old house, and they're looking through the house, and Lorraine looks underneath the house in the crawl space. And she has to do it, I think, because Ed is like, now he had a heart attack, now he's walking with a cane, and he can't do it or something.
Right.
So she goes down in there and she finds this like totem, this evil witch totem that's like they found because like the floor was all like black and moldy, and somehow that means demon stuff. Like they were saying like, oh, it looks like some water damage. That's not water damage. Fuck. Right. It looks like water damage to me. Like, what? How do you know?
Imagine that water damage under a water bed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what? So, yes, they find this evil totem thing. And, of course, the evil totem thing now means that a satanic cult has put a curse on them. So, yes, people can only be possessed by demons if they invite them in or if they've been cursed by a satanic cult, which this is brand new information that we just get in this movie. Good to know. So, at that point, they go to this old priest, and they're like, hey, old priest, like, you investigated all these satanic cults in the past. You know all about this stuff. Can you tell us about this totem? So they go in his, like, secret totem dungeon that he has, and he tells them, oh, yeah, that's a satanic totem, all right. Yep, satanic cults are definitely involved. Yep, you better go get looking for them.
Or John Noble.
they're like, okay, let's go do that. So they go out to look, and so they're looking for like connections somehow, and they end up finding this like loose connection to the other murder case that happens in close by, and it's like this college girl murders like her college friend.
Yeah.
I got kind of like maybe one of them was a lesbian and the other one may not have been. Vibes out of that weird conversation.
Boston, we're in Connecticut. Right. How'd you get here in 1981?
What, did you ride a horse the whole way? I mean, it's ridiculous. But so they go to the police and they're like, "Oh, we can't just let you in on this case. Like, how do we know you actually know what you're doing?" And they're like, "Oh, Lorraine, show them your magic powers." Right? So they bring in like 3 random knives, and they're like, "One of these is the knife in this case. Which one is it?" And Ed's like, oh, no, you can't just make her do that. And she's like, oh, it's this. Oh, my God, she's psychic.
Right.
So now everybody instantly believes she's psychic because she picks the right knife. So she goes out to the forest, and she can, like, perfectly recreate the events because she can, like, see the visions of the past in her head. So she recreates this whole thing. She ends up finding exactly where the murder happened. And then she finds out what happened to the killer because they found the body of the murder victim, but they never found the body of the killer. And then she was able to show them that she ran to this cliff and jumped in the water at this specific place. So they were able to find the body. So now
because Lorraine now has the ability to be driven through the same bodily functions that someone did before death as she was being mysteriously dragged to the cliff.
Yes. like I said, her powers just continue to multiply as the movies
Yes.
go along. Now, she has all these magic powers, and Ed just appears to just keep getting injured, and just basically takes the role of like traditional Christian man. that's his superpower is he's just a man
that needs his heart medicine.
Right, yeah, in this world, he's just a man, and she's the woman. But, of course, she's a good Christian woman who has to be, subservient to her husband. So she has all the powers, but he's the man,
Yes.
Whatever. So now everybody's on board, and now she's, we know you have magic powers. We'll give you whatever you want. So they get all the case files and stuff. So looking through the case files, and of course they find all these totems, right? Oh, the same satanic cult that was involved in, and the kid's possession was involved in all these other murders, it just might be whatever, it doesn't matter. So they're like, oh, so what do these things have in common? Oh, look, they're all from the same area. Oh, okay, well, Lorraine somehow had a connection, when they were doing the whole running through the woods thing, but she didn't get enough information. So they're like, oh, well, we need to go to the body, the body that they just pulled out of the river. Maybe the connection between the evil satanic cult and that killer is still open, and you can find out where they are. So they break into a funeral home and go down to the body, to where she grabs the body's hand and is now able to tell exactly where the killer is located. But unfortunately, it also tells the killer where they are located.
And the killer's not able to reanimate dead bodies.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, the killer reanimates this giant fleshy golem. That was
let's call him Hurley from Lost.
Right. It's a flesh golem. That's what it was. It was a flesh golem now. But cuts the connection just in time. The flesh golem just falls helplessly to the ground, right? So they get out, and she's like, oh, it looked like it was underground, and there was some water, and then there was a satanic altar. I'm like, great, thanks.
I heard some faint choo-choos.
Oh, yeah, I heard a muffled choo-choo.
That means it's underground. Thanks, right. Christian dad.
Yeah. Thanks, man, in the movie. So they basically narrow it down like, oh, it's all from this area. Oh, well, we know from Lorraine's vision that it's a train. Oh, what time did it happen? Oh, midnight. Oh, well, none of these other trains run, so it must be this train. Oh, look, we know exactly where it is. It's the old priest's house. Oh, my God. So they have to go back to the old priest's house. They go back to the old priest's house. The old priest is like, yeah, I had a secret kid. And the secret kid was a bad kid. And this house was full of love until it just wasn't. And she became, the evil version of me, because I was obsessed with the cults, but I was trying to help the people. And she was obsessed with cults, and she was trying to be in a cult. So she apparently took all the Satan power and made her own cult. Like, she doesn't need anybody else. She's got her own power. So they find out that this magic dripping water choo-choo underground altar is underneath that very house. So Lorraine goes down there to try to find this altar. Spooky lady, who's the satanic lady, the secret daughter, shows up and just slices the dude's throat. Like, waste no time at all. Slices his throat, goes after Lorraine. Now, she now has a lot of magic powers now. Okay, this is like a magic power fight.
Yes.
So Lorraine goes down there, and because they basically, to break this curse, you have to break the altar. And
which
so
she tries just overthrowing an altar.
She tries to muscle a stone altar to move over. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're not going to be able to lift. Like, no one is going to be able to. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not going to be able to lift that thing.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's like pure stone. So they have like a fight where they're like, I don't know, chasing around each other. And like somehow there's like multiple versions of Lorraine that are like looping into themselves. Just, I don't know what, not really explained what's going on there. But anyway, satanic magic powers are happening. So Ed shows up, and he gets down there with the sledgehammer because he's the man. He's got to come and save his wife. And the Satan lady can disguise herself as Lorraine, apparently, run up to Ed and then blow magic dust in his face that then makes him see whatever she wants him to see.
Right.
And so now he sees his wife as the flesh golem thing. And so he's like trying to kill it / her.
Yep.
And of course, like, you know, towards the end, she's able to convince him to stop because they love each other or whatever. Their magic, you know, first kiss power somehow breaks the spell on him.
The power of boners. All right.
Yeah. And then he uses the hammer to smash the altar, and then the curse is immediately broken. I should have stated that she was trying to make Arnie kill himself in prison.
Yeah.
Like somehow that was like the next step of this curse. And even though she caused murders to happen with her powers, like again, they're saying the whole point of her doing this is that she's like harvesting souls for the demon, right?
She needed one soul for the demon. One.
Right. And she gave it to, like, the murder was done by her.
Yes.
So, like, there's your soul. I don't understand.
And
anyway,
then she killed her dad.
Yes. So, and then she killed her dad, which is another soul. Like, she killed the dad herself without anyone else's involvement. That's very clearly a gift. And the other one, like, the murder happened because of her influence. Like, that's a gift. What? Like, and then at the end, they're like, oh, well, you said you give the demon a soul. You didn't give him a soul. Now he's going to take it from you. And she, like, contorts and breaks herself and somehow disappears into hell.
Yep.
And then the movie's over.
Well, they take the cup from the altar.
Sorry, yeah. The magic satanic drinking blood cup or whatever the hell it was.
Yes, and the end credits is Arnie's got out in 5 years and married his wife, and they're still married today.
Yeah. Wow, what a fucking love story that is. No, okay. Now here's my first fucking view, because obviously I've never seen this before.
Uh-huh.
The real fucking story is that, yeah, there was a bullshit, you know, involvement with it, possession of the kid. And they actually show a recording of this possession, quote unquote, at the end of the movie. It is like the most uninspired possession I've ever seen. Like, she's like, demon, get out of my son. Demon, get out of my, demon, get out of the sun, please, demon. Like, that's literally the amount of energy that they have. The real recording. This is real life.
Yes.
I'm like, this is the fakest shit ever. Like, they're not even inspired enough to, like, try to sell this shit on a fucking recording that they're trying to make a movie with.
Right.
Like, and this is somehow supposed to, anyway. So that part was real. The second part of it was just Ed and Lorraine Warren jumping on, like, this guy had you cut through all the bullshit, right? You look at the real evidence of the case. The guy had a history of being extremely jealous when anyone ever touched or talked to his wife.
Right.
Or, girlfriend at the time. He was extremely jealous about that. There was multiple instances of people coming forward and saying that he had anger management issues, right? You put both of those things together. A drunk-ass guy that was technically her boss and landlord was drunk and got handsy with her.
Right.
Right? And then everybody else left. Like, this is not what happened in the movie, obviously, but the real story is everybody else that was at this party left, and they left the landlord and that kid alone in that house. And when they came back, the dude was dead.
Right.
So, like, it doesn't take a fucking rocket surgeon to figure out what the fuck happened here, right? The guy was pissed off that he got handsy with his wife. He was drunk as shit. Everybody else left. The guy probably said something else shitty, and he just stabbed him to death. Very clear motive. Nothing here says demons were involved or anything. This is very clear. Someone being upset and murdering someone with motive.
Yes.
But as soon as real life, the literal next day after the arrest happened, Lorraine Warren called and said that he didn't do it because he was possessed by a demon. And they blew this whole fucking thing up. They're the one that called all the media people. They're the one that got this shit involved. Like, they were immediately trying to sell movie rights. They were immediately trying to sell book rights. I mean, all this kind of stuff. The whole devil made me do it garbage. That was the real story. That was it. The actual guy, Arnie, who committed the murder, never said that he was possessed by it.
Right.
Never said it at all. They said that for him. He let the lawyer say that in court, because he said that's how we're going to get you off. So he's like, all right, whatever, say whatever you want. But the worst that he ever said was he said he didn't remember the actual murder. That was it. He never said that he was possessed by a demon. His family never said he was possessed by a demon. The only person ever said that was his girlfriend after Ed and Lorraine Warren got involved.
Yes.
That's it. That's the entire story. This whole, evil totems thing, the whole satanic cult, this whole, secret, priest that was researching this other, satanic cult that of course never existed. All this stuff is complete fabrication. Like 90% of this movie is complete fabrication.
Right.
Yeah, technically, again, quote unquote, based on a true story, but everything is just a fabrication. Like this, none of this ever happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the series come out in 2021, so it was kind of like straight to VOD because, COVID and all that jazz. And as soon as I saw this, I'm like, okay, I did a little research into Arnie to see what was really going on by all this stuff, just to see, what their true story was. Yeah, it's amazing how spread thin this is. And this is something we discuss a lot, though, based on the true story. This is like these people existed and that's about it, right? That's,
and that's okay. I'm not upset that they did that. I mean, that's fine. There's lots of movies that are based on true stories that don't mean shit. Like you look at The Strangers, right? Strangers, technically based on a true story. There's nothing there. Like you read the true story and you're like, okay, that kind of weird, but that's it. There's nothing else. The whole rest of the movie is a complete fabrication. The only little bit that it's built on is the true story part. But I like that movie. I'm not gonna say it's a great movie, but I liked it, right? Like this movie, it does the same thing, but again, it tries to sell it as no, it was totally real, which is again upsetting.
Right. Yeah. And even the boy that was supposedly possessed, his father is suing them. He's like, I never said my son was possessed. Like, get the fuck out.
Right. Yeah. And again, as it was with almost every book / movie that Ed and Lorraine get involved in, because they try to steal all the credit and all the money.
Right.
And then when it happens and they put people's real names on this stuff, because they try to say that the shit is real. They try to say it's true. Right. And these people sue them, like going, no, this is not what happened. You can't put my name on this complete fabrication. I don't want any part of it. And then, like, almost everything that they've done ends up the same way.
Yes.
And I always loved how when they go on TV, they even show it in this one. Their only defense is like, oh, where's the proof? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? And their only defense is like, well, you weren't there. It doesn't matter if I'm there or not. If you can't tell me the proof of it happening, then it never happened. Like, what is it? Pics or it didn't happen? Right?
Right, yeah.
Like, that's the same thing. Okay? Like, show me some pictures. Show me some recordings. That's not just a little kid going, I'm a demon. Like, that's not proof. It's a fucking kid making a voice, dude. That's not a proof of a demonic possession. Give me some real evidence. And what is their whole thing? Like, then he gets upset and he tries to start a fight with them. And this is in their fictionalized movie.
Yeah.
Because that's the shit that he did in real life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I said, once again, I've seen this before. This is my second time seeing it. It is, like I said, it's hard for you and I to turn off our brains and suspend all belief. Like, all of it.
I could if these people weren't real people. If they weren't real people, I could do it. I could. I would just, let it go. There's plenty of Christian demonic, possession movies that I'm okay with. Like what was the one we just watched? The one at the parking garage in the hospital, the morgue or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That one was something that I don't know.
The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
No. It was the same episode as that one, but the other one.
It wasn't Taking Deborah Morgan.
No, the other one.
Oh,
The other one, the third one, whatever. That one was like, it had like a religious overtone, right? That this was an actual like possession, right? I mean, again, a lot of movies have that, and I'm okay with it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm okay with it. Like it's an avenue to go, right? And that's okay. That's fine. It's just when it glorifies these real life people who are bullshit hucksters that caused a lot of pain for a lot of people. And like, again, this whole satanic panic chain ended up with some crazy mother of one of my friends burning my Dungeons and Dragons books on a barbecue grill. That is a direct result of Lorraine Warren and their fucking bullshit selling to these religious people that demons are real and you can't do D&D because there's demons in it. And that means you're inviting demons in your house. Burn all the books. Like, I don't understand how that's a logical fucking step, but it is.
It's the possession of Hannah Grace.
That's it.
You go back.
See? But that one had religious overtones with it. They had an actual fucking exorcism in the beginning.
Yeah.
Again, I like that movie. It's okay. I'm not against the Christian aspect, the exorcism, the demons. I'm not against that stuff. There's a lot of those movies that I enjoy. Because they usually do some kind of interesting, pseudo history type religious stuff. But these movies are they're just bad. They take everything bad about that and they like fictionalize these real life people as being like heroes, and they're not. They are not at all. And then it's really just. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I was going to say when we get into your highlights, if you have any.
Highlights. Yeah, I do actually. I tried to stretch to make sure that we had at least a couple of them. One, this movie had an actual antagonist.
Oh yeah.
Like the other movies really didn't. I mean, like the first one, there's not at all. We don't find out like, oh, there's the witch lady, but we don't they don't have any direct interactions with her.
Right.
Other than the possession, I guess, but that was it. The second one, it was like we get the nun, right? But we don't find out about the nun until way to the end of the movie, right? And they're not really an antagonist. It's just kind of like they figured out who it was.
Right.
This one, there's like an actual antagonist that's actually like working against the heroes direct. Like she sent them the totem so that they, can now be affected by her magic Satan powers,
Right.
There was like an actual antagonist, which the other movies did not have. There was an interesting point that this one actually like tried to make sure that there was. The actual murder itself, like the actual murder that Arnie did on the landlord guy.
Yep.
Like I thought they did a good job like setting that up. Like they were like very sweaty, right? You could tell the one dude was like very, very drunk and Arnie was like, I don't know, sick or so. I don't know. They never really explained what was going on with him, but I guess it was like the ghost, the demon breaking him down, whatever, making him really sweaty.
I get really sweaty too.
I get sweaty when I'm outside, but they were indoors.
Yes.
But like that actual whole kind of sequence I thought was pretty well done. With like the whole like the music was getting louder. It felt like a frantic kind of scene. And then like the music like slowed way down, and then all of a sudden like the landlord became like a demon monster person, and he was like chasing him away, and there was like everything was red, and then and then he like stabbed. Like that whole scene I thought it was pretty well done. Like the actual murder part was pretty interesting. That was like in like the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And there was like another hour and a half after that.
These are long movies.
Yeah. The second one was unforgivably 2 hours and 15 minutes long.
Yes.
No fucking reason for that. And again, like they had some decent music in this one. It was only a couple of songs there, but again, they were pretty decent, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Highlights for me, atmosphere. They had an entire kennel full of dogs and they didn't kill them. So good on you, movie, for not finally killing a dog.
Right? Yeah. Thank you for not murdering the dog. As look, a demon's here, a dog's dead.
Right. John Noble. I like John Noble a lot. Although he did seem like he's phoning it in.
Well, I mean, of course he was. Of course he was. He's the steward of Gondor.
I know.
Put him in this horseshit.
Yeah, I'll agree. Once again, atmosphere. Like, atmospherically, this is good. And also, there weren't really ghost knocks. Surprise, surprise.
There wasn't a lot of ghost knocks. There was some. There was definitely some. But no, there was not as many as the first two movies, for sure.
Right. And I mean, I don't. How do I say this? I don't disagree with the argument of, if you put your hand on the Bible and you swear to God, that therefore you also have to believe the devil exists. I agree with that part, right? If that's in a courthouse, then they're saying that God exists because, whatever, right? So they would have to then therefore exclaim that there is the devil in that religious way of thinking. You and me putting our hand on the Bible and swearing to God means nothing.
Well, yeah, to be fair, nowadays you can put your hand on whatever you want.
Right.
It's just your promise to tell the truth. It doesn't matter what you put your hand on.
Right.
I mean, that's not, obviously it wasn't always the case, but it is the case now. And there's famously been congressmen who have been, inducted into office. You're supposed to put your hand on a Bible when you do that. And they put their hand, one guy put his hand on Captain America's shield.
Yeah.
I mean, but goofy stuff like that, whatever you want, you can put your hand on. A lot of people put their hands on a law book, that's whatever. Again, nowadays it's a little different. Back then, yes, it was. But I guess it depends on where you are, because there is still a lot of southern states that still want they try to put God stuff inside of courthouses.
Oh, absolutely.
And they get in a lot of trouble for that, but it doesn't stop them from doing it. There's a lot of them that have the 10 commandments in the courthouse. Right. That's not good, but it's
different. Yes, I mean, this has to be the most southern part of Connecticut I've ever seen, because it seemed like the deep south.
It's rural Connecticut.
Yeah. No, and that's about it. I'll roll in my low points. I have a couple here. I know you have some more too. I will agree with you that they oh no, the hex bag, right? Essentially, that's what the totems are, hex bags. For anyone who don't know, hex bags usually the cloth with a chicken's foot, a piece of the hair, or whatever that which would be there.
Yeah, the actual items or physical representation doesn't matter much. It's basically just that somebody doesn't like you enough to put a curse or something on you, and they're using a physical manifestation of their hatred for you to make bad things happen to you. That's what
it's bad juju.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't like the fact that they're this. You're correct. This fully leads into a person being able to be the antagonist and the cause of the satanic panic.
Right.
I don't like that. And it's becoming more and more prevalent. That is now we have this actual villain, this physical human entity that you can actually stop. And it essentially became a power versus power. It became the Marvel and DC problem where what do you do for the second movie or the third movie? They have the same powers as the hero.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And kid acting was not very good.
Yeah. No, that was, I'll go to my little points in a second, but that was the thing that annoyed the shit out of me is let's talk to this old priest. He researched these other satanic cults. There's no such fucking thing as satanic cults. It's never happened. Even in these people's delusional wet dreams of these supposed satanic cults, they've never once been able to name one or show anybody one ever. They don't exist. They never have. And again, these kind of movies, they just piss me the fuck off, is they just push in this assumption that, well, they must have existed, right? Where would all this come from if they never existed? Exactly. Exactly. It comes from your bullshit that's been going on for fucking decades. That's where it comes from. But yeah, it never happened. I hate when they inject things in. Like, oh, of course there was a satanic cult that murdered children. No, there wasn't. There never was. There never has been. Sorry. Okay, I'll go into my lows. One, a lot of fucking newer movies are doing this, and I don't know what the fuck it is. They're so goddamn quiet.
Yep.
I had to literally turn up my volume like all the way to the fucking maximum to hear what they're saying in like normal conversation tones. It's like, I'm like, why are you fucking whispering? Why is everybody talking so low? And then you turn it up real fucking loud so you can hear it. And then the next scene is like fucking freight train coming through. Like dogs jumping off the bed and running in the other room. And I'm like, dear God, I'm like scrambling trying to find the remote because it's so fucking loud. But yeah, these movies, I don't know what it is. If it's like a new thing that I don't have the right sound equipment to deal with. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot of new movies have done that to me. And this is one of those.
Right.
Two, this movie is very, very dark. And I'm not saying dark as in atmosphere. I'm saying dark as in just they don't use any fucking lighting. Like even when they're talking to each other, like this is a daytime conversation. They have like a crack in the window that's letting in some light. None of the interior lights are on at all. And they're all in like shadow. And they only show like one person's face that's like half in the sunlight. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's like you can't watch these movies during the day. Like, if you have any glare on your TV, you have no idea what's happening.
Absolutely.
It's like, I don't understand. Like, I get the dark atmosphere. Like, some movies are made to be like that. I get that. This one, I get it. Like, if you're in, like, you know, whatever the demon world or satanic fucking bullshit, I understand it being dark. No, they're just having a conversation indoors. And it's so fucking dark, you can't see anything. And it's during the day. Like, just open a window.
Right.
Anyway, again, I hate Ed and Lorraine Warren. I hate them so much, and I hate that this movie glorifies their bullshit.
Yes.
I'll move on.
Okay.
I like how this movie just like makes up fucking rules whenever it's convenient. Like, again, like the first two movies, they say, oh, the demons can only get you if you let them in. Right? You have to let them in. Like, oh, children can easily be tricked to let them in. That's why you got to be careful with children. But, like, they have to be invited in. They can't just show up. And in this movie, it's like, well, that's true unless somebody curses you. Like, that's a pretty big fucking open door, dude. Like, that's like any person who doesn't like you can curse you. Like, why wouldn't you give that people warning before? Like, that's a pretty huge fucking open door. Like this magic fucking totem that somehow lets people like have full control over you and what you can see and what you can do. And all they have to do is like send you some jawbones in the mail. Like that's pretty like insane.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, again, the same thing with the whole satanic panic shit. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like them. Anyway, again, there's no evidence of any satanic fucking cults that have ever existed. This Ram cult that they were fucking talking about, not real. Nothing like it has ever happened. This totem shit has never happened. None of this stuff is real. It's all fucking fake bullshit that they just added in to fluff up this fucking story that had like 20 minutes of real story, and they had to fluff the rest of this shit up to actually make it worthwhile into a film.
Right.
Again, totems, not only are they bullshit in that world, but they're bullshit in real life. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, why would Satanists need to make some kind of weird jawbone fucking totem? That's like voodoo shit.
It is voodoo.
Like, satanic people don't do that shit. Like, voodoo is a different fucking religion, man. What are you talking about?
A little bit,
What are you talking? You're just mixing shit up. They don't even know what they're doing anymore. They're just mixing it all up, spewing fucking words out there. Yeah, okay, so again, just Lorraine Warren does some minor little thing and people are just immediately on board the Warren train. I mean, just like immediately. Anytime they were like, oh, well, this is how demons work. And everybody's like, oh, really? Okay, I'll do whatever you say. Like, no one ever pushes back on them. And the only people that ever push back are like, wah, wah, Debbie Downer, here's a skeptic, right? And it's like, and everybody's like looking at them like, oh, okay, you're going to ruin the whole fucking thing because you don't believe. everybody here believes. You're not cool unless you believe. Like, get out of here, skeptic. Everybody that doesn't believe just immediately gets the Debbie Downer wah.
Yes.
Stupid. And then, like, again, just Lorraine's bullshit fucking powers. Like, every movie, they keep multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. She's essentially like fucking Jean Grey at this point.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
She can, like, mentally do everything that Jean Grey can do, except for fucking fly. And I'm sure the next movie she's gonna fly.
I hope so. I hope she becomes a flying nun.
I'm pretty sure the next fucking movie she's gonna fly around and she's gonna be using telekinesis powers and shit. Because like, what other powers can they give her? She has every other bullshit huckster psychic power there is. She has them all.
Maybe she'll be able to stream her consciousness into the person and physically fight the demon at an astral plane that's inside the person's head.
Maybe.
Because if you do possession, it's okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, God told me it's okay to possess people. Oh, shit. Well, God said it. Fuck. Go ahead, man.
Exactly.
Do what you need to do, Lorraine Warren.
Yeah. No. Yeah, this movie is just awful. It really is. And let's get into our ghost knocks on this.
Go ahead, buddy. Well, how many ghost knocks out of 10 will you give The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It?
2.
Wow. Gets a 2 in Graveyard's universe.
I mean, that's bad. I'm pretty sure I rated Jack Frost higher than this.
Well, you like cheesy shit. That
I do.
Is selling cheesy shit.
All right, hold on. Let me find something that I'm surprised I liked more than this. I liked Cocaine Bear and Grizzly and Razorback.
Oh yeah, those are all okay movies. I mean, some of them aren't great, but they're not terrible. Like, they're watchable. These movies are not fucking watchable. They make me angry. I have to drink. I have to constantly take breaks to go drink and go do other things to prepare myself to come back to watch this shit because I get so worked up and angry. Like swearing at the screen, and then I have to, pause it. But they're so long. The first one is like normal movie length. The first one's like an hour and a half. The second movie is, like I said, an unforgivable 2 hours and 15 minutes. And then the third one is like an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, her Axe is the same score as this movie.
Yeah, that's
for me.
Well, I would say Axe is better than this. What did I give Axe?
You gave you gave Axe 2.5.
Yeah. See? Yeah, Axe is definitely a better movie than this. Axe at least had some like entertainingly stupid shit happening. This does not.
Yeah, so what do you give this? Let me go Snocks. Do you give this?
God, I don't fuck. 0.6. It gets 0.6 ghost knocks out of 10. I would say it's slightly better than Jack Frost. I believe I gave Jack Frost the 0.5.
I believe so.
Yeah. So I'll say it's slightly better than Jack Frost.
Okay. All right. Why don't you take us home for this episode?
All right. Chucky, Puppet Master, Billy, Pinocchio. We have a craving for more Belle. Annabelle, that is. Join us next time as we continue to dive into the Conjuring universe and we prepare for the Nun 2 with the Annabelle trilogy. And keep asking why they make horror movies PG-13 and fill them with nothing but jump scares. But remember, we watch bad movies so you don't have to. And I will add, do not watch these movies. If you have not seen them, just don't watch them at all. Just trust me. Trust Graveyard. Don't do it.
Yes, because I love cheese, and this isn't cheese, and this is just probably some of our lowest rated movies that aren't cheese-filled or M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes, true. Sorry. Continue.
Yes, so this is Graveyard saying, have you checked on the children?
This is Salem saying, long live the new flesh.
Good night.
Good night.